Complete roadmap for a CSS developer. So if you want to become a full stack blockchain developer, then you have to know the CSS property which you're going to use in your DAV development. In this video, I will highlight that what are the property you have to master so you can start your DAV development fast. This entire roadmap is divided in 10 different categories, and in that we have highlighted that what are the properties you have to master in each one of the category, so you will have an overall understanding about the CSS property and its use case. And we'll see a couple of examples that how we have used in an element and how we have changed the styling calling in the CSS file. The first category we have in the list is color and background color. As the name suggests that you're going to use this property to color an element or a text. So if you use the color property in CSS means you want to change the color of a text. But if you want to change the color of an element, you have to use a background color. There are multiple properties are available in background color, but this one is the most common one we use. So just try to understand that how color and background color work. Now come to the second category, we have typography. In that typography, I want to recommend four properties which you have to know. First one we have is font size. So you have to know that how the font structure take place in the element when you define h1, h2 or p tag or span. So you have to know that how you can manipulate the data font size property and how you can do it with dynamically as well. So that's the font size. After that we go to the font family. So there is a default family we have in the browser which will automatically take place in our element, but you can also customize and define your own font family. So if you want to use Google font, you can do that, or if you want to use your local font, you can use that. So understand how font family work. After that comes the font width. Different font widths which you can use. It starts from 100 and it goes all the way to 900, and we have bold and bolder. So you have to know that when you're going to apply this font width, when you have to highlight something very important in that, you have to do the bold your text, and that will reflect the design on your front end. Then the last one we have in this particular category is text align, and this one is the most common use property you will find in the CSS when it's come to aligning the text inside a div or placing a div in anywhere in our application. So understand how text align work and what position it takes. So generally it's moved to three different positions. It's moved to left, right or center. So these are the three property we have in the text align. So try to do the practice. Now the third category we have is box model. So you have to understand the basic fundamental of box model and how a container takes place inside your web page. So we have couple of property which we can use to align our entire model inside a element or inside a div. So the very first property we have is padding, and this will allow you to add some space around the div or around an element. So you have to know that how you can use this padding in different forms, how to assign different properties to this padding, and how you can use its properties to adjust the element. So understand how padding exactly take place. Then we have margin. Some of the developer treat this margin just like as padding, but they are different in nature. So I want you to understand that how exactly margin work. Try to play with the value. So the way you define your padding in the element, in the same way you can define your margin, but there is a difference between their element and the spacing of the element which you provide in the container. So understand margin how it's work, because these two properties are the most common property you're going to use in every single element in every single paragraph. Then we have border. You have to know that what are the options are available to you to assign a border to an element. So if you want to assign a border to a text, how you can do that. If you want to assign a border to an element, how you can do that. So try to understand about it and check all the values it's available to you which you can use to assign your border. And now we have the most frequent one, which is a width and height. So sometimes you have to go with the default height, or sometimes you have to go with the flexible height, or sometimes you have to go with the fixed height. So you have to understand that what are the value type is available for you which you can assign to your element. You can assign, so the value you can assign as a percentage, as a viewport, as a RAM or as a EM. So you have to know that what value type you want to use to your width and height. So these are the four important properties of CSS you have to master when it's come to box element, because whenever you build architecture, whenever you build the entire web page, these are the four most frequent properties you're going to use to align your entire div and the application. After that, let's move to the fourth one, which is the display and layout. So as the name suggests that this will focus entirely on the display of an element, display of a property, and we have a different display model. So when it's come to the display property, we have three different values. We have block, we have inline, and we have flex. So these are the three properties you have in display, or you can display grid as well. That's also come in the place of display value. So you have to know that how display exactly work and how you can use in your element if you are building your application using the grid model or you are using a flexbox model. So you have to know about it. Then we have float. So if you want to float anything from left to right, you use this property. Again, it has couple of values which you can assign to change the direction of the element. So try to understand that how float exactly work. And here is the example which you can see how we have used in this particular element. Then we have position. So understand the position structure, that how you're going to define in an element and how the position work exactly. So we have three different type of position: relative, absolute, and fixed. So understand that how each one of these property will behave. If you want to make it relative, something in the element, how it's going to behave. If you want to make it something absolute, something fixed, how it's going to behave. So understand, because these three properties are totally different in nature and perform differently. So understand how these three properties works. After that, we have top, right, bottom, and left. So if you want to place any element and change the direction of an element, you can assign that. So once you understand the position, then you can easily able to use this top, right, bottom, left values, and this mainly follow the position property. So understand how exactly work. So master the display, float, positions, and top, left, right, and flex. So these are the couple of properties you have to master in display and layout. After that, you can go to the flex box. So right now, grid is very popular, but many of you are familiar with the flex box design because it was there in the past, but now most of the application use the grid system. But I would recommend you to go with the basic one. Grid system is also very easy to master, but I want to go with the basic one, and that will give you a better idea. So inside the flexbox, we have the same property. The flexbox, we have a display property, and that's take the value of flex. So if you want to flex any item, you can use that. If you want to assign a grid system, you can say display grid. So that's how you can assign. We have a flex direction. So if you want to change the direction of an element, like you can define the row, you can define the column, you can define the row reverse, you can define the column reverse. So these are the couple of property is available to you to define in your flex direction. So understand about that and play around with the value. After the flex direction, we have a justify content. So you have to know that how you can justify your content, because when you will use the flexbox system, when you will use the flex, then you have to use this property. You can use that to align your elements, like it should be center, start, end, up, down. So there is a multiple property which you can look at and you can assign to your element. After that, we have the align item. So you have to know that how you can align an item. What is the difference between the justify content and align item? So these are the property you have to master in flexbox. So display, flex direction, justify content, and align item. So understand each one of these property deeply, and that's what you can use to build your layout. After that, let's come to the most important part of our CSS roadmap, that how you going to target an element in your HTML document. Because whatever property we have discovered so far, it's all about the CSS property which we're going to apply on our HTML document. But the question is that how are you going to target those elements? So in CSS, we have three different way of targeting the elements. The first one we have called element. You can use any HTML element and you can apply the styling targeting that specific element. For example, you want to apply styling to all the image tag in your HTML document. So you can take that HTML tag and apply the styling in your CSS file, and that styling will be applied to all the images. So that's the one way of targeting an element tag in the CSS, but we have other way as well. Like we can target an element based on the classes and based on the ID. So for example, if you want to change the styling of a particular div or a particular span, a particular HTML document, you can use the class model. You can simply give a class to that particular element and you can target that class and you can change the styling. In the same way you can do with the ID. So these are the three ways we have to apply the styling to our HTML document based on the element, classes, and ID. With that, let's move to the 7th category, which is a pseudo class and pseudo element. Again, you have to know about it, that what it is and how you're going to use them. This one is an optional one, but I want you to know how it's work, because if you want to take your CSS skills to the next level, these are things you have to master. So the first one we have is over effect. So if you want to add any styling or if you want to attach any event based on the mouse over, then you can use this property. Again, check a detailed explanation on this. There is a huge property we have and the way we can apply this. After that, we have the active state. So if you want to check that whether someone have click on an element, whether it's an active or not, you can add this active state on the button or a checkbox. So you have to know that how it's work. So then we have an end child. So you have to understand that how the end child work exactly and how you're going to use it and why you have to use it, in what condition to target an element and apply the styling. So these are the three properties I want to recommend you in the pseudo class and pseudo elements to master. After that, let's move to the eighth one, which is more towards the styling part and making our application beautiful, called transition or animation. This one is also an optional one, but I want you to understand because this will not take you more than 5 to 10 minutes if you just try to understand the property and how you can utilize them. So the very first one we have is transition. As the name suggests, that transition means add some sort of movement to an element. So if you want to add an animation, that's what you can add it. Then we have animation. So if you want to define a keyframe and if you want to animate any element, or if you want to create a scroll bar or those kind of smooth movement, you can use this two property, transition or animation. So master this too. After that, let's move to the ninth one, which is called box shadow and border radius. So you have seen that I have used this two property extensively in all the project we have built, whether you talk about Uniswap clone, NFT marketplace, token staking dApp, real estate dApp. Recently we have working on our web3 chat GTP. So in that we have used this extensively to style the element. So we have this two property under this category, like box shadow and border radius. So if you want to assign some sort of 3D kind of look, you can use the box shadow for that. And there is a multiple properties is available which you can again have to look from your end to see how you can utilize that one. Then we have the border radius. So if you want to make the borders looks beautiful and add different styling to your element, you can use this property. You can change the value, play with the value. It has multiple property and multiple value which you can play with to style your element. And after that, we have the last one called media query. So if you want to make your website or tab responsive for the mobile device or other screen sizes, then you have to use the media query, and you have to know that how you can use this media query, how you're going to target and apply the styling to your element, what is global CSS classes and what is media query CSS classes, and how these stylings will take place. So we have a multiple breakpoint when it's come to media query. It starts from 300, then 4, 600. It's totally up to you that what are the breakpoints you want to add. So understand about it, understand about the variables, that value type we're going to use. So these are the 10 category I want to highlight for all of you guys, that these are the things you have to master if you really want to start and faster your web development journey. And so these are the things which you have to master. I hope you guys have got a complete idea that what are things you have to learn in this CSS. So I don't want to recommend so many things at a time. If you're a beginner, then this is the roadmap you have to follow and start building your application. As soon as you complete this entire roadmap, know about each one this property, build an element, build a web page, and use this exact property to learn about it. Again, we're going to have a small project using these CSS properties, so you guys will have a practical hand-on experience on that how you're going to utilize that. So if you guys want me to build that project, do let me know in the comment section. Definitely I'm going to include that so you guys will have a better idea. So that's the only thing I want to talk about. Hope you guys have learned something new today and you guys know that what you have to follow, web developer or a full stack blockchain developer. And if you truly want to master web development and full stack development, then this is the project which I want to recommend you. It's a huge project, 8-hour project. In that we have built this beautiful application powered by AI. In this you will learn about the modern technology, including the custom CSS and all the technology you can able to find. So here I have listed down that what are the things you're going to cover and learn in this project. So make sure to come and have a look from your end that what exactly you're going to build in this particular course. So this is the course which I have launched for a complete beginner, and it will teach you every single technology which you have to know to master web development or full stack app development. So come and have a look. With that, I'm ending this video. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.